guys, it's me, Tikaani. Today I was thinking that we should go through some more OCD memes. As someone who was actually diagnosed with OCD, there are a lot of memes that I find relatable that aren't like, oh, symmetry's messed up or whatever, which people generally think that's what OCD is, which it's not. So I think that sharing these memes is a great way to show people what OCD actually looks like, as well as just fun to look at some OCD memes. Let's get right into it. The first meme we have here is people, you should consider meditating. It's a powerful way to calm your mentality. And then it says, my OCD mind during meditation. And then it's a head filled with thoughts, and the thoughts are, do you know you can swim in lava once in a lifetime? This is not how you meditate. What if you're the reincarnation of Jeffrey Dahmer? William Shakespeare. Keep your posture perfectly straight. Thinking of should not be thinking while meditating. And then yourself. All OCD is completely different for every person with OCD, but it can follow like similar patterns. For me, my OCD, there is a lot of rumination, and for meditating, oh my gosh, I hate meditating because my brain will just constantly be like, you're not meditating properly, you're doing this wrong, and then I'll just be flooded with like random thoughts, which is what this is. With OCD, you definitely get like a lot of thoughts where it's just like really aggressive. I like to think of OCD as like a really mean Twitch chat. Like, if you think you're gonna say something mean to me, I promise you my brain has already said it, or worse. So, that's really fun. But yeah, like, what if you're the reincarnation of Jeffrey Dahmer? I think that one's funny because, like in the previous memes that we looked at, one of them was, when I was a baby, I was evil. Like, sometimes when you have OCD, or at least for me, I just feel like I'm cruel and I'm evil. Like, I'm constantly concerned with what if I'm just this evil person and I have no idea? What if, like, I'm a serial killer and I have no idea? Like, I just forgot. I just completely forgot. Never mind, I have chronic illnesses and I'd be way too weak to fight people, and also I wouldn't hurt people because, like, I can't even hurt bugs. So, like, it kind of makes me feel bad. Like, I literally joined a jumping spiders subreddit, and I love jumping spiders now, even though I'm scared of spiders. And I will struggle through the fear just to get them outside because I don't want them to die in my house. Like, that's so sad. But, my brain is just like, are you sure you're not evil? What if you are evil? What if you're like a spider in a human costume and you have no idea? It's just like ridiculous things in your head. I don't really get the William Shakespeare one, which I guess is just like maybe like the brain taking a random thought and then like changing it up in a weird way. Me personally, I don't really get those. I also do get the kind of commands one, which are like sit up straight, or like don't do this, or make sure you do that, or occasionally it'll be like, well, maybe if you just turn on the stove and touch it. Like, why would I do that? Or like when I'm cutting something, it's like, what if you just cut off your whole hand right now? Like, no, I don't want to do that. And it's like, are you sure you don't want to do that? So I definitely relate to that, and I definitely cannot meditate. I hate meditating, and anytime I try to meditate, just fills my brain with just random thoughts of I'm not meditating correctly. Never mind the fact that I don't think you can meditate incorrectly, but whatever. But like, it'll just fill with thoughts of like, you're not doing this right, you're doing this wrong. Like, OCD can be also very critical of you for no reason. So the next meme is that black guy where he's like smiling, and then the next frame is him being shocked, and it says where he's smiling, it says feeling happy about something I made that turned out nicely. And then where he's looking sad, looking shocked, it says this means I'm a narcissist and a horrible person. Oh my god. Now obviously we're not allowed to like diagnose people. I don't think that the world should be going around being like, I think you're this or I think you're that, because I don't think it's appropriate to diagnose or undiagnose people, because the only people that know what's going on in their brain is the people that have that brain. As someone who grew up with my mother as my mother, I do kind of feel like she's a narcissist, from a bunch of stuff I've researched, and I'm in several different like subreddits for raised by narcissists. I definitely relate to a lot of those. So I do think my mother's a narcissist, especially with how she behaves and stuff. And because of that, I have a constant fear that I'm a narcissist. I don't know it yet. Because obviously a narcissist wouldn't think that they're a narcissist, right? Narcissists don't think that they're narcissists usually, because they look at themselves highly. However, when I try to tell my brain that, well, a narcissist wouldn't think that they're a narcissist, because that's like defeats the purpose of being a narcissist, my brain's just like, that's what a narcissist would say. Which maybe they would. I don't know. I don't think I'm a narcissist, but what if I am? I have no idea. That's just what my brain tells me. It says, well, you could be. Like, you're not a professional psychologist. How do you know? And it's like, I don't think I'm a narcissist. I think I have much too much empathy and care for other people to be a narcissist. And I'm also not like that self-absorbed or think of myself like so highly, like my mother does. So I don't think I'm a narcissist, but if you asked my OCD, I would have to say I don't think I am, but maybe it's kind of one of the things about OCD too is you definitely like over explain a lot, because you feel like if you don't include every detail, you're lying. Like, so yeah, that's why I had to bring up my mom there, because I feel like if I didn't include that, the brain's just like, you're lying if you don't include all of the details, or if you admit one thing, or if you're not like hyper detailed about this, you're a liar. And that's not true. You don't have to over explain everything. Did you know that? I didn't. Okay, so this is the meme where it's the brain saying something and the girl's trying to sleep, and then the brain says something else, and then the girl's like wide awake. The brain's like, "Are you going to sleep?" And she's like, "Yes, I am. Now shut up." And the brain's like, "What if someone is following your digital footprint and compiling everything you've ever said that could be problematic? And one day they're going to make a huge call out post, and all of your friends will see it and leave you." And then the girl's awake. And it's so funny. I feel like a lot of people probably do have some sort of like digital footprint, and I'm sure I've done some bad things in the past. I remember I got into beef with someone on Twitter. I was 18, which is not an excuse, but I was young and dumb, and I'm much more educated now, and I would never do this. But I was watching Millionaire Matchmaker, and this woman got on my nerves because like she was on the show despite being in a relationship. She straight up just went on the show for clout. And so like people were calling her out on Twitter, and unfortunately I joined that mob in calling her out on Twitter, and she replied to me. She made fun of my looks and talking about how rich she was, and I'm like, well, I'd rather be poor and still in my happy marriage than rich and lonely like you. It was really mean. I mean, that it was really mean. I feel like that was really mean to say to somebody. I was 18 and I would never do that now. I don't even use Twitter or X or whatever. And I also like am not just that kind of person. Just be better people. It's really that easy. The next meme is Squidward laying in bed and SpongeBob's outside doing SpongeBob things. And it says me at 3 a.m. And then outside it says a mistake I made years ago when I was a literal child and didn't know any better. Which literally, honestly, like you'll just be laying there in bed and you'll just think of the most horrible thing you've ever done. Like for example, when I, told that lady that, she was sad and lonely, and I didn't care that she was rich and stuff, which is kind of mean. Now this meme is a cat giving a thumbs up, and it says me coming prepared to my psych appointment with a very long checklist of OCD system. And then it's the cat basically being shocked, and it says, my psychiatrist telling me the only patients of mine that ever come so prepared always end up having OCD. Dude, oh my god. When I seen my psychiatrist to get diagnosed and medicated for my ADHD, because it had been several years since I've been medicated and I've really been struggling with it a lot. I went in there and I was like working on the paper and I was like trying to multitask because I was trying to do everything at once. And she kept asking me questions and then she would like I would answer, and while I was answering she would cut me off and ask me another question, and it just kept repeating, and I was so confused because I was like, why does she keep cutting me off? And then like she ended the appointment and like prescribed me medication and I left. And when I told my husband, he's like, you know what, it's probably because it was very obvious you have ADHD and sometimes you tend to just keep going, and she needed you to just answer her questions, and you provide so much detail, which I think is also because of my OCD, where I over detail things because I want to make sure that I'm not lying, because it's important for me to be an honest person. So yeah, I definitely relate to that. And this is a meme. I don't know what it's from, but it looks like a rabbit or something that's like laying face down on the ground, and it says, when I told people to not reassure me and they actually listen. Something with OCD, reassurance is like a compulsion where if you're not positive about something or you are struggling with something, like let's say you have relationship OCD, for example, and your OCD just keeps telling you that, hey, your partner doesn't actually love you and they're just pretending, and tomorrow they're just gonna wake up and be like, I hate you, and then just leave. And I don't know why my brain likes to tell me that, but I do struggle with those thoughts too. Seeking reassurance can be a compulsion because it'll help with that anxiety of that thought when your partner's like, you know, obviously that's not gonna happen, or I do love you, or whatever, blah blah blah. But the problem with that is that it never feels like enough. So they'll tell you that, and then your OCD's like, yeah, but they're lying, because why would they tell you to your face that they're gonna leave you? They're not gonna tell you that. It's gonna be a surprise. And then you're just stuck in those thoughts, and it just makes things worse. And when you're seeking that reassurance, it just doesn't help. Like, you know, when I need reassurance from friends that my friends actually want to be friends with me, it's really hard because I want to ask and make sure that they want to be friends with me, right? But constantly asking that also hurts my relationship with them. Constantly seeking validation from my friends is gonna constantly hurt my relationship with them. It's gonna be frustrating and annoying, which is completely understandable. I would probably be annoyed too if someone kept like not believing what I told them and kept asking for reassurance. So stop seeking reassurance. It's also not good. It feeds into your OCD anxiety, unfortunately. This meme is the cute kitty, and then it's the kitty holding his head, and then it's a wet kitty. So it says, everyone is going to die really soon and I can prove it and I'm always anticipating it. And then the stressed kitty's like, how dare I think about that? I'm obviously mocking the experiences of losing loved ones. And then the last cat's, I'm evil. No, you're not evil for having those kind of thoughts, and you're not mocking the experiences of people who've actually lost loved ones. It's just your OCD latching on to the stress and the anxiety of you might lose people, and then just telling you that that's gonna happen in various ways, which is so much fun. This one is a tweet which says, having OCD is like having a million Final Destination like visions every day. Yes. Oh my god, so true. Yes. Like, I literally I'll be driving down the road and my brain's just like, you're gonna just grab the wheel and whip into traffic, and it's like, no, I'm literally not. Why would I do that? But my brain just keeps insisting that I'm gonna do that. Or when I'm like cutting up something on the cutting board and my dogs are walking by me, my brain is just like, you're about to drop that knife and stab them. Good going. God, you're so terrible. It's like, that's not gonna happen. I've got a grip on the knife. They're not even that close to me. But that's what my brain is telling me what's gonna happen. Or that I'm gonna cut off my hand. Or sometimes it even straight up says, hey, cut your finger off right now. And it's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Thank you. This one is a meme. It says, "Why are you so quiet? What's on your mind?" And then it's a person's head, and it says, "Am I a good or a bad person? Your family and friends hate you. Remember the time you made that mistake? Well, that person hates you, and now you have to live with that forever. You deserve to be alone because of XYZ. Everyone is out to get you, and you just don't know it yet." Which, yes, yes, so much. Usually when I'm quiet, it's because my thoughts are just going. You can usually tell by my facial expression if I'm like struggling with my OCD thoughts, because usually when I'm like just quiet and just kind of participating in the group, I make sure to smile and stuff, because you know, you gotta make sure you show people that you're participating and you don't hate being there and stuff. But sometimes, like when I just kind of zone out, it's because I'm having like just probably some abhorrent thoughts that I do not want to talk about. And that's the last meme I wanted to read today. So thank you guys for joining me on this episode of OCD memes explained by a person that actually has OCD, episode 2. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll catch you later. Bye guys.